Part 41. Martial Arts, Become Invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at Westlake. Chapter 401. The inner demon knows that the power of the soul of a strong man and nature can search for enemies and sense murderous intent and malice. So he didn't even dare to get close to the capital, just because he was afraid that Xiao Zhantian would discover his whereabouts. But in the game between the two parties, victory or defeat is not only based on strength. The inner demon did not dare to compete with Xiao Zhantian in terms of strength, but he still dared to plot against Xiao Zhantian secretly. He knew that he could not kill Xiao Zhantian, but he could not remain indifferent to the death of Xianzun from the demon section. The demon sect must take revenge. Borrowing De Zhou and his relatives to enter the palace this time was the first step for the inner demon to plot against Xiao Zhantian. The chessboard is set and the pieces are in place. It's up to you how to break the game. Let me see the strength of you, Emperor Tiankai Yuan Wu. Huh. The inner demon waved his sleeves, and the fish basket on the shore fell into the river and was washed away by the river. The fish in the fish basket re-entered the water, swimming freely, and was extremely happy to regain life. The ants were still alive. The inner demon will not be stingy about showing mercy once in a while. He was happy today, so he didn't want to drink fish soup. At night, a banquet was held in the palace. Xiao Wuji sat high on the dragon chair, with civil and military ministers on his left and right. The heads of noble families who knew each other well and had donated money, food, and people were also invited to come to the palace for a banquet. During the banquet, there were singers dancing gracefully, each one of them enchanting and charming, and their breath was like orchid. Hundreds of civil and military officials on both sides watched. His eyes were so straight that he even forgot to drink. When the banquet was going on, Xiao Wuji signaled, and an eunuch next to him immediately shouted at the top of his lungs. Princess Liu Yun of Suandazhou has an audience. Princess Liu Yun of Suandazhou has an audience. Princess Liu Yun of Suandazhou has an audience. The sound spread out one after another, and there were people outside the main hall who responded, and finally reached outside the Meridian Gates Shenglong Road. Following the fireworks, Princess Liu Yun of the Great Zhou dynasty walked slowly through the Shenglong Road and finally walked into the main hall. The song in the palace Ji slowly stepped away, leaving a path, and the princess walked slowly. All the civil and military officials and heads of noble families at the banquet restrained their lustful thoughts, and there was no longer any blasphemy in their eyes. Some were timid. The officials even lowered their heads, not daring to look directly at Princess Liu Yun's face. Everyone knew that Princess Liu Yun was sent by the Zhou dynasty for marriage and was the emperor's woman. Now that the harem is empty, Emperor Yuan Wu Xiao Zhantian, there are no concubines in the harem yet, and Princess Liu Yun is the first one. They don't dare to have any evil thoughts about the emperor's women. Some officials and heads of noble families secretly feel pity. In fact, after Xiao Zhantian ascended the throne, these people I have already thought about sending beauties from the family to the palace to look down on the emperor. One is to show their loyalty. The other is for their own future. Since ancient times, there is no better way to consolidate one's status than to marry the emperor. Once the family, if there is a woman among them who is favored by Xiao Zhantian, their family status will naturally rise and become more stable. Xiao Zhantian is a master of the unity of nature and man, and has a long life. If he does not abdicate, he can even stay in power for more than 100 years or even longer. Emperor. If they can make Xiao Zhantian happy, their family can enjoy glory and wealth for the next 100 years. Unfortunately, Xiao Zhantian didn't have much interest in draft girls before, so their plan to send beauties didn't work, and finally let Princess Liu Yun of the Great Zhou dynasty came out on top. The first concubine after Emperor Yuan Wu founded the country and ascended the throne, this status has extraordinary significance. If Princess Liu Yun can please Emperor Yuan Wu, she may be able to become the queen in the future. When I think of this at this point, many officials and heads of the aristocratic families looked at Princess Liu Yun with more complicated eyes. As soon as the bad fat was taken away, everyone's heart was bleeding. It's a pity that these people don't know that the position of Queen of Tiankai has already been decided except for Su Weiner, there is no other person. These people have no chance from the beginning. Princess Liu Yun walked into the hall, and a floral fragrance spread leisurely in the air, permeating the entire hall. Liu Yun meets His Majesty. Princess Liu Yun came to the front of the palace and saluted Yingying. Princess, no need to be polite, get up. Xiao Wuji raised his hand to help him. Thank you, Your Majesty. Princess Liu Yun stood up and then performed a dance for Xiao Wuji. The royal princess is proficient in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and her dancing skills are also excellent. The civil and military ministers were fascinated and could not take their eyes away. At the end of the dance, Princess Liu Yun jumped. She stood up and flew towards Xiao Wuji. It looked like she was throwing herself into someone's arms. People who saw the scene didn't think it was anything. Instead, they felt that the princess was flirting with His Majesty the Emperor. However, the next moment, the situation suddenly changed. Under the princess's sleeves, 3 rays of cold light shot out with a whoosh, directly hitting Xiao Wuji's eyebrows, throat, and heart. They were 3 sleeve arrows, only half a finger long. The arrow clusters were sharp and quenched with strong poison, and blood could be seen. Seal the throat. The murderous intention was caught off guard, and none of the civil and military ministers in the palace reacted. Boom. Xiao Wuji showed no expression, raised his glass and drank, turning a blind eye to the building. The arrow from his sleeve was shot like lightning, but was automatically bounced away and fell to the ground. Xiao Wuji's body protecting energy automatically deployed to protect his body, and the sleeve arrows could not enter within 3 feet of him. Be bold. Xiao Tian's was the first to react. He roared angrily, flew up behind Princess Liu Yun, and landed a palm, directly shattering her internal organs and muscles. Princess Liu Yun was already angry without even letting out a scream. Absolutely dead. There is an assassin. Come and catch the assassin. Escort. Escort. There was a commotion in the main hall, and the Minister of Civil and Military Affairs finally reacted at this time. Looking at the corpse on the ground, everyone took a breath of cold air. They were still shouting at each other a second ago. Princess Liu Yun, who threw herself into the arms of Emperor Yuan Wu, turned into an assassin in the next second, and was killed by Xiao Tian's and turned into a corpse. How is this going? How did the princess become an assassin? Is Emperor Zhou trying to assassinate Emperor Tiankai? Do they want to start a national war? De Zhou is really ambitious. The civil and military ministers had a look of resentment on their faces, and murderous intent was evident in the eyes of the generals. Xiao Tian's shouted outside the palace, "Come here, take down all the envoys of the Zhou dynasty. If there is resistance, they will be killed without mercy." Yes. A response came from outside the palace, and the forbidden troops stationed outside the palace immediately began to arrest people. However, at this moment, wailing sounds suddenly sounded in the palace. One after another, officials covered their chests and fell down. What's wrong with me? Master Li, why are your lips so dark? Mr. Wang, you too, your face is dark and your lips are purple. This is poisoning, everyone is poisoned. Finally someone came to their senses. They were actually poisoned without knowing it. When was the poison administered? Was it the poison given by Princess Liu Yun of the Great Zhou dynasty? It must be her, no one else. Your Majesty, help me. The officials wailed and looked at Xiao Wuji, who was sitting on the dragon chair. Of course, Xiao Wuji was not poisoned. He has the 9 Yang divine art to protect his body and is invulnerable to all poisons. Mere poisons can't do anything to him. Even without the 9-yang divine art, Xiao Wuji can't do anything to him. With Wuji's current skill, there is no poison that can kill him. From ancient times to the present, I have never heard of a master of the unity of heaven and man who was poisoned to death. Even if it is a 9th grade poison, Xiao Wuji can take it. He came to serve as food and was unscathed. Xiao Wuji glanced at the ministers, waved his sleeves, and a powerful wave of true energy roared out, dispersing the fragrance of flowers in the hall. After the fragrance of the flowers dissipated, the ministers felt their breathing became easier. Xiao Wuji's true energy entered his body and forced the poison out of them, and they finally regained their breath. Only then did everyone realize that the floral fragrance on Princess Liu Yun was extremely poisonous. They thought it was body scent before, but they didn't expect it to be a deadly poison. All the poisoners in the world pursue the highest state of colorless and tasteless poisoning. The poison is colorless and odorless, so it can kill people silently. But Princess Liu Yun did the opposite, using the scent of flowers, wine, and meat as a lure to spread the poisonous gas. Although the method is still very high quality, this kind of thinking is higher than colorless and tasteless. When a warrior travels around the world, it is his instinct to be wary of poisoning and plotting. Although colorless and odorless poisons are difficult to prevent, the aromas of flowers, wine, and meat are even more difficult to prevent. This is similar to the art of war, and the conspiracy is no match for the conspiracy. Your Majesty, Princess Liu Yun of the Great Zhou dynasty poisoned and assassinated Your Majesty, which is an unpardonable crime. The Emperor of the Great Zhou dynasty must have planned this matter behind the scenes. I, Tiankai, cannot just let it go. At the end of the day, General Bai Gongchu asked for a battle, willing to lead an army to attack the Great Zhou dynasty and save face for His Majesty. In the middle of the banquet, a general wearing armor strode out, knelt down on one knee in front of Xiao Wuji, his voice roared, and his fighting spirit was high. This man was the original Daliang border guard Bai Gongchu. Thanks to Xiao Wuji's rescue of the Daliang border army, Bai Gongchu has devoted himself wholeheartedly to Xiao Wuji and is loyal to him. He is also one of the few officials who Xiao Wuji has not used the soul transfer method to control. With Bai Gongchu taking the lead, many civil and military ministers one after another came out to ask for a fight. General Bai Gong's words are reasonable. When Zhou used the name of his marriage to carry out the assassination, he clearly did not take me, Tiankai, or His Majesty seriously. If we don't kill chickens to scare monkeys, where will the prestige of our Tiankai country be? Where is Your Majesty's face? Please also ask Your Majesty to issue an order to use troops against Das Hu. Wei Chen invites you to fight. Wei Chen invites you to fight. Please give Your Majesty's order. Hundreds of civil and military officials asked for battle one after another, and their prestige was no less than that of 100,000 troops. At this time, soldiers outside the palace came to report, Your Majesty, Princess Liu Yun's maids and bodyguards were all killed for resisting. No one was left alive. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at West Lake. Chapter 402. Humph, a good death. Xiao Tian snorted coldly. The civil and military ministers also cursed secretly. Princess Liu Yun poisoned them and almost killed them. If the emperor hadn't come to rescue them, they would be corpses now. Naturally, they would hate Princess Liu Yun and even Princess Liu Yun. De Zhou hated him deeply. The reason why he asked for the battle was not only to save the emperor's face, but also to avenge himself. Xiao Wuji looked around at the ministers and said calmly, first capture all the guards of the De Zhou envoy. As for the use of troops, we will wait for later. Discuss. King Tian's, Bai Gongchu, you two will follow me to Wuxiao Palace. After saying that, Xiao Wuji slowly stood up and left from the back hall. Xiao Tian's and Bai Gongchu saluted Xiao Wuji and walked out of the hall to Wuxiao Hall. As for the other civil and military ministers, they gradually left. But tonight Princess Zhou Liuyun's murder of Emperor Yuan will spread throughout the world in a short time. Imperial Palace, Wuxiao Palace. Xiao Wuji changed into his regular clothes and leaned on the dragon chair. Xiao Tians and Bei Gongchu entered the Nine Heavens Palace and faced each other. Xiao Wuji saluted respectfully. I am here to see your majesty, long live my emperor. Flat body 923 Thank you, your majesty. Xiao Tians and Bei Gongchu stood up. Xiao Wuji looked at the two of them and said calmly, what do you think about the assassination tonight? Xiao Tians looked solemn and said there are people who are instigating this matter. They want to instigate me, Tiankai, to start a war with Dazhu, so as to benefit from it. Bei Gongchu said the people behind the scenes have sinister intentions and are extremely vicious. We must be on guard against them. Your Majesty, please issue an order to cordon off the entire city and arrest suspicious people. I would rather kill 1,000 by mistake than let one go. Bei Gongchu's eyes were fierce, with a cold light radiating from them, and a murderous aura. He was originally a battlefield general who killed many people. To deal with Tiankai's enemies, he could only kill to stop killing. Xiao Wuji nodded slightly. Xiao Tians and Bei Gongchu, they are all smart people. Xiao Tians has been secretly planning for 62 years to avenge the annihilation of his clan, and he has used countless conspiracies and tricks. The assassination tonight was too straightforward and simple. On the other hand, it was full of loopholes and could not withstand scrutiny. He can naturally see through it at a glance. Bei Gongchu has been guarding the border for decades and is well versed in the art of war. He is also very aware of the treacherous nature of people's hearts. Naturally, he can also see the flaws in tonight's assassination. The two said in the main hall that they wanted to the great Zhou dynasty had to do this when using troops. Although the two of them could see that someone was behind the incident to sow discord, it was true that Princess Liu Yun of the great Zhou dynasty assassinated Emperor Yuan Wuxiao Zhantian. Whether she was manipulated or used by others, she had no choice but to, and she has already done it. Now that she has done it, she can't get away with the crime of assassinating the emperor. Neither can Dazhu. Emperor Tiankai was assassinated, and the assassin was Princess Liu Yun of Dazhu. Once this matter spreads, apocalypse will, if nothing is done, the prestige of the country will be gone. He, the emperor who has just ascended the throne, will also lose all his majesty and will be unable to suppress the hearts of millions of people in Tiankai. When the hearts of the people in the country fluctuate, apocalypse will not be able to stabilize. At the beginning of the founding of the country, although Xiao Wuji relied on strong strength and the expulsion of the invading armies of the two countries have established a strong majesty and strong prestige. However, because the time is too short, the domestic people's hearts are still unstable. This is a critical period, and there is no room for any surprises. Therefore, Tiankai must send troops to show Xiao Zhantian attitude, in order to appease hundreds of millions of people. The demon sect must have seen this and arranged this assassination that was full of loopholes. Although the assassination was full of loopholes and failed, in fact, the demon sect's goal had been achieved. Because this assassination was a conspiracy. After this assassination, it is no longer possible for Tiankai and Dazhu to form an alliance. Although the top leaders of the two countries know that there are people who are trying to sow discord, the relationship between the two countries has already been flawed. Now that there are flaws, it is no longer possible to trust the other side wholeheartedly. Just like it is difficult to recover when water is overturned, it is difficult to mend a broken mirror. In addition, if Apocalypse and Dazhu really go to war because of this matter, then the national strength of the two countries will be destroyed. Consumption, the demonic cult behind the scenes will benefit. Thirdly, this assassination, which is full of loopholes, is also a signal released by the demonic cult to Xiao Wuji. The demonic cult wants to use the assassination to tell Xiao Wuji that Suanzun Shangguan Ao, Gui they have not forgotten the hatred of Emperor Qi's soul eater and blood demon Yuquan. This assassination has just begun, and there are endless murderous intentions waiting for Xiao Zhantian. Even if they can't kill Xiao Zhantian, they can still kill Tiankai. It turned the world upside down. He, Emperor Yuanwu of Tiankai, could not imagine being a comfortable emperor. It's really easy to do things in the dark. Xiao Wuji secretly sighed in his heart. In the past, it was him who was hiding and the enemy was hiding. Just like the Li Wenbo clan, the chief assistant of the great Zhou dynasty, he hid in secret and died alive, and the whole clan was wiped out. The whole clan was dead, and Li Wenbo didn't know the true story. The person who killed them was Xiao Wuji, and they had always thought it was the golden-faced Lion King. The same goes for the demon cult. The Ghost Emperor's 7 killing soul eaters, the blood demon Yuquan and even Xianzun Shangguan Ao were all killed by Xiao Wuji. They thought the murderer was Xiao Zhantian, and Xiao Wuji had been hiding in the dark. Now that Xiao Zhantian came to the light, he immediately lost the initiative. When the demon sect moved, he could only passively accept the moves and could not take the initiative to attack. It seems it's time for the golden-faced Lion King of the Night Emperor to go out for a walk after disappearing for so long. It's time for me, the protector of the demon cult, to show my face. A sneer appeared on the corner of Xiao Wuji's mouth. Xiao Wuji looked at Bei Gongchu and said, Bei Gongchu, you rush to the north immediately to prepare for the war. Yes, the general will obey the order. King Tian's, in the name of Tiankai, you issue a letter of credence to Dezhou, reprimand Dezhou for the assassination by borrowing his wife, and order Dezhou to make a statement. Xiao Tian's immediately understood Xiao Wuji's intention and said respectfully, I obey the order. This is a trick. Someone is secretly instigating Tiankai to go to war with Dazhu. Xiao Wuji simply uses the trick to blackmail Dazhu. If he can use this to gain benefits, why not do it? Anyway, no one was harmed in the assassination of Apocalypse. If you can benefit from this, it will be a bad thing turning into a good thing. To be a king, you must use everything that can be used. From this point of view, Xiao Wuji is a very wise emperor. The Apocalypse Forbidden Army dispatched out of the city to capture the 1,500 envoy guards stationed outside the city by Zhou dynasty. But at this moment, the building was already empty. The 1,500 legion guards left before the banquet began on the grounds that their mission had been completed. The imperial guards rushed to nothing, and no one was found in subsequent pursuits. If they were really envoy guards, even if they left, the imperial army would still be able to catch up. But this mission guard is disguised as the demon sect Suanjia army. They are both an army and martial arts warriors. After leaving, they immediately dispersed, broke into pieces, and hid in the vast rivers and lakes. Although there are 1,500 people, they are just a drop in the bucket compared to the martial arts warriors. What's more, there are inner demons outside the city to support them. The Forbidden Army's subsequent pursuit only captured a small number of them, and more of them had disappeared long ago. At the same time, the inner demon also learned that an assassination had occurred inside the palace. The inner demon was overjoyed to learn this and drank 7 bowls of wine. Xiao Zhantian, do you like my gift? This is just the beginning, there will be more to come. If you kill me, the pillar of the Shangguan clan, you will definitely pay for it with your life. The inner demon crushed the white jade wine bottle in his hand, and in his eyes infinite meaning. Although he used the help of the Zhou dynasty and his pro-envoys to complete his plan and undermine the alliance between the two countries, it was considered a great victory. But in the end, it did not cause any harm to Xiao Zhantian himself. Conspiracy and conspiracy are powerful weapons for the country, and even hiding in secret can destroy an army of millions. But for a supremely powerful person like Xiao Zhantian, conspiracy and tricks are of no use. No matter how clever the inner demon is, how clever he is, and how hard he works, he can't hurt a single hair on Xiao Zhantian's body. This is the gap between him and Xiao Zhantian. The gap in strength is huge, and no amount of intrigues can make up for it. Xiao Zhantian, I can't kill you, but the leader can definitely kill you, and the old demon lord can definitely kill you. Your end is coming soon. The inner demon poured a glass of wine into the ground, treating it as a sacrificial wine for Xiao Zhantian in advance. The second person to get the news was naturally the Jin Yiwei in Shangjing City. There were many Jin Yiwei in the Jin Yiwei stronghold. Xiao Wuji's heaven, the human incarnation, sat 0.1 in the first place, looked at his men and horses, and said solemnly, I got the news that after Princess Liu Yun entered the palace, she assassinated Emperor Tiankai Yuanwu, and she was killed by King Tian's on the spot. As soon as these words came out, the faces of all the Jin Yiwei in the lobby changed drastically. Some people took a breath of air and felt a cold air rushing from their heels to the back of their heads. How so? Why did Her Royal Highness want to assassinate Emperor Yuanwu? Could it be His Majesty's will? How will this end? Princess Dazhu, assassinated Emperor Yuanwu, and if something went wrong, the two countries would go to war. If the two countries went to war, how many soldiers would die? How many people will be displaced? Sir, is your information accurate? A member of the Jin Yiwei family looked at Xiao Wuji and asked nervously. Xiao Wuji said expressionlessly, the news is conclusive, there will be no falsehoods. So, what to do now? Everyone panicked. If it were before, the two countries would have started a war. Dazhu was so powerful that they were not afraid of Daliang at all. But now what Dazhu has to face is not Daliang, but apocalypse. Although the land is the same and the army is the same, but the emperor is different. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at Westlake. Chapter 403. The current emperor is not Xiao Duo, Emperor Ai, but Xiao Zhantian, Emperor Yuanwu of Tiankai, a supremely powerful celestial being who can kill two celestial beings with one person. They were in the upper capital, and their fear of Xiao Zhantian was far greater than that of the Jin Yiwei in the mainland of Great Zhou. They had seen Xiao Zhantian's cruelty, ruthlessness with their own eyes. The previous scenes of Xiao Zhantian purging Daliang's old ministers and bloodbathing the imperial city are still vivid in his mind. During that time, people were beheaded every day in Keishikao, and not just 1 or 2 people were beheaded, but 100 or 200 people. Every day, officials' homes were confiscated and their families were exterminated, and all 9 clans were wiped out. It can be said that Xiao Zhantian ascended to the throne of God by stepping on countless corpses. What's more, they also knew that Xiao Zhantian had forced back millions of armies from both countries. Faced with such a domineering, ruthless and powerful peerless emperor, De Zhou started a war with Tianqi at this moment, and his chances of winning were slim. Once it fails, the frontier army will be the first to die. The second ones to die were the Jin Yiwei. And this time they, the royal guards, were responsible for protecting the princess when she entered the city, and the marriage between the two countries went smoothly. Now that the marriage has failed, they are all guilty of incompetence. Emperor Jingtai was so angry that they were all held accountable and all of them had their heads thrown to the ground. Sir, what should we do now? Many of the Jin Yiwei looked at Xiao Wuji, all of them looked pale and panicked. They were obviously lost. Their minds were spinning slowly and they couldn't figure out the twists and turns. Only the 4th eunuch, Sima 14, noticed something was wrong. Everyone, shut up. Sima Lang shouted angrily, silencing everyone's discussion and suppressing the panic in their hearts. Sima Lang looked at Xiao Wuji and said, 13th brother, something is wrong with this matter. Although I have not seen Princess Liu Yun for many years, I also know that Princess Liu Yun is gentle by nature and weak in body. How could such a princess assassinate Emperor Tiankai Yuanwu in the main hall in full view of everyone? Sima Lang's wife is the princess of the Dazhu royal family, and she is related to the royal family by marriage. She has seen Princess Liu Yun when she was a child. In Sima Lang's view, how can Princess Liu Yun be a weak princess with no innate realm? Assassinate a powerful man who unites nature and man. Also, Princess Liu Yun has always been well behaved and obeyed His Majesty's will. Since His Majesty sent her to form a marriage alliance, the princess would not resist, let alone assassinate Emperor Yuan Wu. 13th brother, in my opinion, there is fraud in this. Sima Lang looked at Xiao Wuji with a solemn expression. There are more than one or two smart people in the world. In fact, the assassination planned by the inner demon this time was too full of flaws. Even if Sima Lang was not present at the scene, he could deduce it with just a little inference. The problem is there. Xiao Wuji nodded and said, I have also thought of these, and they are generally consistent with what you think. The marriage between Dazhu and Tiankai is about to happen. No matter how unwise your majesty is, you will not send the princess to assassinate Emperor Yuan Wu. That would be harmful but not beneficial. Once the assassination occurs, regardless of victory or defeat, it will harm the interests of both countries. If what I think is correct, someone must be sowing discord in this matter, trying to destroy the marriage between the two countries and profit from it. Sima Lang nodded and said, the top priority is that we must find out the inside story of the assassination case and restore Dezhou's innocence. We must find out before the two countries completely go to war, so that we can destroy the plan of the mastermind behind it. By the way, 13th brother, didn't you contact the Jin Yiwei in the mission's guard team? What did he say? Xiao Wuji shook his head slightly and said, I summoned 7 times in a row, but no one from the regiment's guards responded. If I guessed correctly, Anzi, the royal guard in the mission, would have been dead long ago. I am afraid that even the mission guard would have been replaced by someone long ago. How can it be? Even Sima Lang was shocked when he heard Xiao Wuji's conjecture. The mission guard, composed of 2,000 soldiers from hundreds of battles, was replaced. This is simply a fantasy. Who can do such a thing? Sima Lang had a look of fear on his face. Xiao Wuji said, I can only think of one force with a motive and such ability. Xiao Wuji and Sima Lang looked at each other. Sima Lang was a smart man. After Xiao Wuji's prompting, he immediately thought of the demon cult. Yes, it can only be those people. Sima Lang sighed. Xiao Wuji said, report the news and our speculation to Jinling, and let the commander and the emperor make the decision. Good. Soon, the flying eagle flew across the sky, flying from Shangjing City to Jinling City. After receiving the letter from Xiao Wuji, Yuan Xiong, who was in Jinling City, immediately went to the palace to see the emperor and report the situation. Jinling City of the Great Zhou Dynasty, Deluo Hall of the Imperial Palace. Your Majesty, this is a letter from Xiao Wuji, the 13th Taibao, from Shangjing City. Princess Liu Yun assassinated Emperor Yuan Wu in court and was beheaded. Yuan Xiong knelt down on the ground, holding the letter in his hands, and said every word sonorously. Emperor Jingtai and Xia Yongxuan's expressions changed drastically when they heard this. What did you say? Say it again. Emperor Jingtai felt that he was hallucinating, and quickly asked Yuan Xiong to repeat it. Yuan Xiong said in a low voice, Princess Liu Yun assassinated Emperor Yuan Wu in court, and she has been beheaded. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Emperor Jingtai was furious and roared angrily. Yunar has a gentle temperament and voluntarily went to Tiankai to get married for the alliance between the two countries. How could he assassinate Emperor Yuan Wu in court? I don't believe this nonsense. After saying that, Emperor Jingtai grabbed the letter from Yuan Xiong's hand, took it into his hand, and opened it. When he saw it, he was suddenly filled with anger, his expression was gloomy, and his murderous intent broke out. After reading the letter and knowing the cause and effect, Emperor Jingtai was furious. Demonic cult. It's the demon cult again. These traitors deserve death. Poor Yunur, I was actually used by the traitors of the demon cult and died tragically in a foreign country. Hateful, hateful. Emperor Jingtai looked up to the sky and roared, with tears streaming from the corners of his eyes. Princess Liu Yun's face could not help but appear in Emperor Jingtai's mind, the way she smiled, cried, ran, played, and acted coquettishly towards him. Jingtai the emperor had more than a dozen daughters, but Princess Liu Yun was his favorite, otherwise he would not have sent Princess Liu Yun to Tiankai for marriage. Although it was for the purpose of forming an alliance between the two countries, it was a political marriage. But Emperor Jingtai wanted Princess Liu Yun to be the queen of Tiankai. One person is inferior to 10,000 people. In Emperor Jingtai's opinion, only his Princess Liu Yun is qualified to be the queen of Tiankai. However, due to the persecution of the demon cult, his Liu Yun died. The rebels of the demonic sect should be found by everyone and punished. If I don't kill all the rebels of the demon sect and destroy the 9 tribes, I will not be able to let go of the hatred in my heart. Xia Yongxuan. Wei Chen is here. Hearing Emperor Jingtai's roar, Xia Yongxuan trembled, walked out immediately, and saluted respectfully. Emperor Jingtai said send an order to Yuzhu counselor Su Shiren, asking him to conduct a thorough investigation of the entire territory of Yuzhu day and night, and make sure to find the demon sect's lair. Find out, catch them all. I will give him another 7 days. If there is no result in 7 days, I will take his head. Also, send an additional 50,000 troops to Yuzhu to prepare for emergencies. Xia Yongxuan said respectfully. Yes, I obey the order. The reason why we need to thoroughly investigate the entire territory of Yuzhu is because when the leader of the demon cult, Shangguan Wudao, broke through the unity of heaven and man, he appeared within the boundaries of Yuzhu. The royal family, heaven and man Xia Lushan informed Emperor Jingtai of this news, so Emperor Jingtai ordered Yuzhu General Su Shiren to lead the Yuzhu garrison to conduct a thorough investigation of the entire territory of Yuzhu. Originally this was not a time-bound task. The demon sect's home base, Suanyao Cave, is well hidden. Even if Su Shiren 460 cannot find it, he will only be scolded for not doing things well. The most it can do is to be demoted and fined. However, Emperor Jingtai was already furious because of Princess Liu Yun. When the emperor becomes angry, his ministers will naturally be implicated. Su Shiren became the fish that was affected, and the consequence of failure in doing things was a direct loss of life. Emperor Jingtai's expression was gloomy, his pupils were filled with cold light, and the true energy surged in his hands, shattering the letter into powder. I will spend my whole life trying to catch all the traitors of the demon sect in one fell swoop, and I will fight to the death. Both Xia Yongxuan and Yuan Xiong were infected by Emperor Jingtai's anger and felt uneasy. The current Emperor Jingtai made them seem to have seen Emperor Jingtai 13 years ago. Emperor Jingtai has been on the throne for 23 years. In the first 10 years, Jingtai the emperor was wise and powerful, tough-minded and domineering. He was an out-and-out heroic and wise king. In the following 13 years, Emperor Jingtai degenerated and became a faint king. But now the furious Emperor Jingtai seems to have returned to the 13th year. Years ago, the majesty of the emperor on his body made Xia Yongxuan and Yuan Xiong secretly frightened. Yuan Xiong took a deep breath and said anxiously, Your Majesty, the crusade against the demon sect's rebels is indeed a top priority, but the relationship between our country and Apocalypse is also in urgent need of repair. This time, the demon sect rebels controlled Princess Liu Yun, and not only assassinated Emperor Yuan Wu in front of the court, but also poisoned and assassinated all the civil and military officials of Tiankai court. According to Xiao Wuji, if Emperor Yuan Wu Xiao Zhantian hadn't taken action in time, all the civil and military officials in the Tiankai court would have died. Nowadays, the civil and military people in the Manchu dynasty are very angry and are already discussing the use of troops against me, the great Zhou dynasty. Xiao Wuji also found out that Bai Gongchu, the general of Tiankai's southern border, had already received orders to rush to the southern border. The apocalypse court is raising food and grass, and the war between the two countries is just around the corner. Your Majesty, this matter is urgent. Xia Yongxuan also stood up and said, Your Majesty, Yuan Xiong is right. The top priority is to quell the dispute between the two countries. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at West Lake. Chapter 404. The war between the two countries resulted in heavy casualties. The national strength of both countries was wasted, and only the demon sect hidden in the dark was benefited. This is also the ultimate goal of the demon sect's rebels, to manipulate the princess to assassinate Emperor Yuan Wu. They not only want to destroy the marriage between the two countries, but also want to provoke the two countries to go to war, consume the national power of our great Zhou dynasty, and plot to restore the country. Delusional, they are delusional. Emperor Jingtai was furious. A group of little rebels are still trying to revive the country. It is simply a wishful thinking. The same goes for Emperor Yuan Wu Xiao Zhantian. Doesn't he pride himself on being wise and powerful? How could you not even see such an obvious plot to alienate someone? Did he really think that Yunus' assassination was arranged by me? I'm afraid not. But Gui saw that Xiao Zhantian would definitely send troops. Xiao Zhantian came to the throne not long ago. The reason why he was able to secure the throne was all due to his peerless martial arts, but he did not have enough prestige among the people. After being assassinated this time, if he remained still, he would lose face and be detrimental to the country, so he would definitely send troops. Even if it was just a show, Xiao Zhantian must let the people of Tiankai and the world see his attitude towards this matter. Emperor Jingtai heard this and nodded silently, so, he wants to use his plan to kill me. Emperor Jingtai is not a fool. After thinking about it for a moment, he thought of Xiao Zhantian's follow-up plan. Xiao Zhantian didn't want to start a war, he just wanted to use this matter to gain benefits. De Zhou was unreasonable and was caught by Xiao Zhantian naturally. The handle must be cut to quell Xiao Zhantian's anger, to calm the anger of Tiankai's civil and military officials, and to save the face of both parties. This damn bastard is so greedy for profit, he is unworthy of being the king of a country. When he thought of his daughter's death, being plotted against by the demon sect, and being blackmailed into having her flesh cut off by Xiao Zhantian, Emperor Jingtai became filled with unwillingness and deep hatred. Why was he the only one who got hurt? That bastard Xiao Zhantian just rubbed the wounds. Yan, it was obvious that he was plotted against by the demon sect rebels. He should seek revenge from the demon sect, so why did he come to cut his flesh? Wouldn't it be very satisfying for the two countries to form an alliance to jointly destroy the demon sect? Why did they resort to the trick and sacrifice him? The more Emperor Jingtai thought about it, the angrier he became, and he was shaking with anger. If Xiao Zhantian knew what Emperor Jingtai was thinking, he would definitely say that he was looking for the demon sect. The demon sect plotted against him, and Xiao Zhantian would naturally want revenge. It's just that the demon sect is now hiding in the dark, and he can't find it. Of course, he can only shift the blame to Emperor Jingtai. He's a ready-made scapegoat, and he won't kill him until he kills him. Of course, the demon sect will also have to deal with it. Once the demon sect is found, Xiao Wuji will never be polite to the traces of his disciples. In any case, Xiao Wuji will not suffer any loss. As an emperor, it is natural to act for the benefit of the country. Xiao Wuji believes that if he is swapped with Emperor Jingtai will also do this. Any emperor with a little bit of brain would make the same decision as Xiao Wuji. Emperor Jingtai had a splitting headache and sighed, "Go, discuss how to end this matter, and submit a charter to me. Also, immediately send a letter of credence to Tiankai and order them to return Liu Yun's body." I will never let my daughter be homeless and become a lonely ghost after her death. Yes, I will obey the order. Xia Yongxuan and Yuan Xiang were moved and bowed their heads respectfully in response. They both walked out of the Deluo hall at the same time. After the door was closed, they both heard the cry of Emperor Jingtai. The iron-blooded emperor also had softness in his heart. This time Princess Liu Yun's death was a huge blow to Emperor Jingtai. In front of Xia Yongxuan and Yuan Xiang, Emperor Jingtai always looked angry. But when the two left, Emperor Jingtai could no longer control it and howled loudly. Cry. The emperor bleeds but does not cry, but he has not yet reached the point of sadness. In the Great Zhou dynasty, Yongcheng, in a lively inn and restaurant, many warriors drank, chatted, and boasted without drafting. It was very lively. Suddenly, a person appeared outside the door of the restaurant. A tall figure. The figure slowly walked into the restaurant, causing the hustle and bustle of the restaurant to stop instantly. Many martial artists looked at the door of the restaurant and saw a middle-aged man standing there. The man was unusually tall, with yellow hair. His shoulders were loose, his eyes were shining brightly, his face was like gold paper, and his face was full of vicissitudes of life. The middle-aged man glanced at the restaurant lobby, grinned and sneered, and a sense of domineering oppression suddenly broke out. The warriors in the restaurant lobby were the sense of oppression was so shocking that everyone lowered their heads and broke out in cold sweat. Some of them recognized the identity of this middle-aged man, and their hearts beat wildly, as if they were about to jump out of their throats, and they did not even dare to breathe. Why did the golden-faced Lion King appear here? Doesn't he know that the court is looking for him? Damn it, I didn't read the almanac before going out today, how could I encounter this evil star? It's over, I'm going to die. I haven't loved the beautiful lady I newly married yet. My wealth has not been dissipated yet. If I die, my money will be cheaper for others. Damn, can't see me. I am a dead man, I am a dead man. The golden-faced Lion King walked slowly through the lobby without saying a word. The steps are gentle, but every step seems to step on the hearts of many warriors. As the golden-masked Lion King approached, all the warriors' hair stood on end. They did not dare to move, and even stopped breathing, for fear of attracting the golden-masked Lion King's attention. More than a year ago, the golden-faced Lion King shocked the world with his title as the leader of the 7 evils of Mobei. Although he has a good reputation in the world, he is only famous in the Mobei generation. But as the 7 fiends of Mobei massacred Li Wenbo's entire clan and the killing of the current prince spread throughout the world, the reputation of the golden-faced Lion King has grown hundreds of times more than before. The golden-faced Lion King also successfully surpassed many demon sect protectors and became the 2nd most wanted person on the Great Zhou blacklist, second only to the demon sect leader Shangguan Wudio. You know, since the Great Zhou dynasty issued the wanted list, including all the demons in the world, the top 10 on the list have always been occupied by the leader of the demon sect and the 9 guardian elders. The golden-faced Lion King is the first demon to rank in the top 10 of the blacklist, which shows how much the Zhou court hated the golden-faced Lion King. Emperor Jingtai of the Great Zhou dynasty personally issued an imperial edict that the golden-faced Lion King was wanted throughout the world and his head was to be taken. The huge bounty made countless warriors go crazy. However, after the wanted order was issued, the golden-masked Lion King disappeared from the world. Some people say that the golden-faced Lion King was afraid of the wanted order from the Zhou dynasty, so he hid in the world and kept his name anonymous. After all, he is facing the pursuit of the entire Zhou dynasty court and Jianghu. Even if he has unparalleled martial arts skills, he will still be afraid. But unexpectedly, the golden-faced Lion King was not afraid at all, and he actually appeared here arrogantly. When they saw the golden-faced Lion King for the first time, many warriors in the martial arts world felt not excited, but fearful. Before they saw the golden-faced Lion King, they could still imagine that after catching the golden-faced Lion King, they could be granted the title of Guangzong, and they could enjoy all the glory and wealth and become famous all over the world. But after seeing the golden-faced Lion King with their own eyes, they only felt fear in their hearts. To hunt the golden-faced Lion King? This is a joke. With just one glance, they knew in their hearts the strength gap between themselves and the golden-faced Lion King, and they could no longer muster the courage to challenge the golden-faced Lion King. Rather than die under the sword of the golden-faced Lion King with no bones left, it would be better to draw the sword and commit suicide. The golden-faced Lion King walked through the lobby of the restaurant without saying a word, then walked up to the second floor, and finally entered a private room. After the door to the upper room was closed, many martial artists with red faces in the lobby still did not dare to breathe. It wasn't until a few breaths later that they dared to take a deep breath. Several warriors looked at each other and could see the fear in each other's eyes. In just a few breaths, they were already sweating profusely, and their clothes were soaked with sweat. The next second, there was no warning, no signal. All the warriors stood up in unison and escaped from the restaurant at an unprecedented speed. They have practiced martial arts for many years and have practiced light kung fu to a greater or lesser extent. At this moment, many warriors, Wangs, achieved breakthroughs in Qinggong, and their speed was much faster than before. In the blink of an eye, all the warriors in the restaurant escaped, including the restaurant owner and waiter. This restaurant was opened by a warrior. When he was young, he wandered around the world and didn't get ahead. After Jinping washed his hands, he opened this restaurant. As he usually receives warriors from the martial arts world, he has naturally heard of the name of the golden-faced Lion King and feels extremely fearful in his heart. Wherever the golden-faced Lion King goes, there is bound to be trouble. So the restaurant owner also ran away with many warriors. It doesn't matter if the restaurant is gone, your life is the most important thing. As the restaurant owner ran away, he looked back at the upper room on the second floor. He knew that there was someone in the upper room. He didn't know that person, but the person who could be found by the golden-masked Lion King must not be a simple person. In the blink of an eye, everyone in the restaurant fled, leaving only the golden-faced Lion King and one other person in the upper room. The whole restaurant was dead silent and you could hear a pin drop. Lion King, your fierce power is truly well deserved, it is really an eye-opener for me. In the elegant room, a middle-aged scholar smiled warmly, picked up a glass of wine, and roared to the golden-faced Lion King. This middle-aged scholar was none other than the demon sex protector, Feng Emotionyi. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at Westlake. Chapter 405. The golden-faced Lion King raised his glass and retorted, raised his head and drank it, and said calmly, they are just a group of ants in the world. If Feng Emo shows his identity, those people will be scared to death. Who will get this seed? Shanyi smiled and said, I don't dare to be as ostentatious as the Lion King. I am very afraid of the wanted list of the Great Zhou blacklist. The golden-faced Lion King said, the Shangguan clan has been trying to restore the country for more than 100 years. Feng Emo is a pure descendant of the Shangguan clan. The blood of the emperor would be afraid of a mere wanted notice. Too many ants will kill an elephant. Although some ants are not a threat to me, too many ants will still cause trouble. Feng Emo looked at the golden-faced Lion King and said, the Lion King's whereabouts were exposed today. I think it won't be long before trouble comes. The golden-faced Lion King raised his glass and drank heavily, and sneered, then let them do it. It just so happens that my lion-headed sword has not drank blood for a long time. Let it drink enough today. The most indispensable thing in the world is lunatics who want money rather than their lives. The appearance of the golden-faced Lion King today has scared away the warriors in the restaurant, but the news will soon spread. The head of the golden-faced Lion King is very valuable. The martial arts warriors who learn the news will pounce on them like sharks that smell blood. They all know that the golden-faced Lion King is difficult to deal with, and they all know that they are likely to lose their lives on this trip, but these people will still come. Under the heavy reward, they will definitely. There are brave men. As long as you kill the golden-faced Lion King, you can get a title, 10,000 taels of gold, and become famous all over the world. This temptation is too great, enough to make countless warriors risk their lives. What is the reason why people in Jianghu learn martial arts? For defending the family and the country? Acting chivalrously and righteously? No, this is too lofty. Jianghu warriors with these goals are rare in the world, not one among 100,000 people. Most of the martial arts warriors learn martial arts 323 just to get promoted and make a fortune, stand out, and become famous all over the world. And as long as you kill the golden-faced Lion King, you will have all of these. So they will come, and no matter how many people die, there will be people chasing you one after another. If you can't beat them head-on, they will use sneak attacks, assassinations, poisoning, and all kinds of despicable methods. Don't go to extremes. To achieve the goal, you can use any means. How many people can the golden-masked Lion King kill? 100 people? 1,000 people? 10,000 people? No matter how many people the golden-masked Lion King kills, they will eventually be hunted down and killed. Someone will eventually become the final winner, take the golden-masked Lion King's head and reach the pinnacle of life. And those who chase the golden-masked Lion King have a belief in their hearts. That is, they will become the final winner. The winner. This is the meaning of the existence of the blacklist, and it is also an effective means for the Great Zhou Court to suppress the world. All the 9 guardians of the demon sect are peerless masters at the Grand Master level, and each of them can easily kill thousands of people. Jianghu warriors. But in the past, they still acted in a low-key and secretive manner, hiding their whereabouts as much as possible. It was not that they were afraid of the court, but that they did not want to get into trouble. Once their identities and whereabouts were exposed, they would be hunted down by the entire Jianghu. They also knew, the most numerous people in the world are those who want money rather than their lives. They can withstand 10 or 20 waves of pursuit, 30 or 40 waves of poisoning and assassination. But when will this kind of life end? In order to discord, some ants compete with each other, so they can only hide their whereabouts and act in a low-key manner. Lion King, being low-key still has its benefits. Feng Emotionyi looked at the golden-faced Lion King and said. The golden-faced Lion King said calmly, if there are too many ants, they can kill an elephant, but they cannot kill a male lion. It just so happens that I am the most powerful lion. Okay, stop gossiping. What's the point of sending a message to me? The golden-faced Lion King looked at Feng Emo and asked. Feng Emo put down his wine glass, looked at the golden-faced Lion King and said, there was a strange phenomenon in the sky a few days ago. I believe you have seen it with your own eyes? The golden-faced Lion King nodded slightly and said, of course, there have been strange phenomena in the sky several times in a row. This matter has been spread all over the world. I naturally know it. I also have some understanding of the realm of the unity of heaven and man. The first and second heavenly phenomena were obviously the fall of powerful men and gods. And for the third time a few days later, someone broke through the realm of unity between heaven and man. Feng Mo's face was a little ugly. Because among the 2 powerful heavenly beings who died, one of them was Shang Guan'ao, Suanzun of the demon section. It is now being circulated in the world that Tiankai Yuanwu Emperor Xiao Zhantian killed 2 heavenly beings in one battle. People. The world only knows that one of them is the Gangxiang of Bodhi Temple, but not many people know about the other one. Although the golden-faced Lion King has joined the demon cult, he is still a foreigner, and Feng Emo has no intention of telling him the secret. The golden-faced Lion King, of course, he knew the reason for Feng Mo's ugly face, and said calmly, martial arts are cruel, and the weak and the strong prey on the weak. This has been the case since ancient times. It's not a big deal if a god falls. If you want to blame him, just blame him for being too weak. Presumably the gods of my holy religion will not be like those two fallen weaklings, right? Wind demon. Adding fuel to the fire. This obviously added fuel to the fire. The wind demon was furious, but he couldn't show it. He opened his mouth and pulled out an ugly smile and said, the Lion King is right, of course the gods of my holy religion will be weak. The purpose of inviting the Lion King here this time is to tell the Lion King good news. A few days ago, the leader of my holy religion has come out of seclusion and has successfully broken through the realm of unity between man and nature. The third vision was caused by the leader's breakthrough. Oh! Has the leader achieved a breakthrough? The golden-faced Lion King was a little surprised and said, that's really gratifying. A great joy indeed. Feng Mo Shenyi had a look of pride on his face. The leader has made a breakthrough. Our holy religion already has 3, BGBF, powerful men who respect heaven and man. Even the imperial court of the great Zhou dynasty cannot compare with our holy religion. 3 statues. The golden-faced Lion King secretly sneered in his heart. 3 statues are impossible, at most there are only 2. However, the 2 celestial beings indeed exceeded Xiao Wuji's expectations. After all, except for Suanzun Shangguan Ao, Xiao Wuji did not know about demons. There is another heavenly being within the sect. The existence of the old demon lord Shangguan Fixiao is a secret, and only a few people know this. Even within the great Zhou court, only Xia Lushan and Xia Aishi know this. Even Emperor Jingtai didn't know. Exposing the existence of Shangguan Fixiao would only deepen the deterrence of the demon cult. Naturally, Xia Lushan and Xia Aishi would not do such an unwise thing. The golden-faced Lion King looked at Feng Mo and said, the leader has broken through the realm of unity between man and nature, so we should celebrate grandly. I wonder when I can meet the leader. It has always been one of Xiao Wuji's goals to find the location of the demon sect's home base, the Suanyao cave. It's just that the old dog Feng Mo was too cautious and never took him to the Suanyao cave. Previously, Shangguan Wuidao retreated to the Suanyao cave. Closed, Xiao Wuji couldn't find any chance. Now that Shangguan Wuidao had made a breakthrough, Xiao Wuji could finally ask for a meeting with Shangguan Wuidao. After all, he was now the demon cult protector Knight Emperor, and the dignified demon cult protector couldn't be connected. Shangguan Wuidao can't meet him, right? Feng Mo Shun pondered for a moment and said, the leader personally formulated a series of plans after his breakthrough. Now he has important matters to deal with, so I'm afraid I won't be able to meet the Lion King. The golden-faced Lion King frowned, his face a little gloomy. Seeing this, Feng Mo quickly said, but the leader has a task to give to the Lion King. If the Lion King can complete this task, the leader will not be stingy with the reward. When the time comes, the Lion King can see the leader. The golden-faced Lion King had no expression on his face and said calmly, what mission? The wind demon escaped from his arms and took out a piece of cloth, opened it and put it on the table, and said, the leader ordered the Lion King to find a treasure. The shape of the treasure is the one painted on the cloth. The golden-faced Lion King glanced at the cloth and instantly recognized what it was. There was a piece of broken jade painted on the cloth. There were various pictures of strange animals on the broken jade. There was a map next to it, but the map only had patterns. There is no detailed route on it. This thing is very familiar to Xiao Wuji. It is the broken jade and residual pictures that Xiao Wuji took from the demon cultists. It seems that these 2 things are really important to the demon cult. The treasures that even the leader of the demon cult, Shangguan Wuidao, personally ordered to find, are naturally very important. However, Xiao Wuji does not know what the use of these 2 treasures is. Since after getting the broken jade and the broken pictures, Xiao Wuji secretly investigated the origin of the broken jade and the broken pictures. However, he did not find any useful clues. There are countless secrets of the world recorded in the Jinyue archives, but unfortunately, there is no information about the broken jade and the broken pictures. Any clues related to the picture? Xiao Wuji also searched the secret pavilion of the Daliang Palace, but did not find any useful clues. Things that are not recorded in the Jinyue archives and the Daliang secret pavilion are either worthless garbage or it is a rare treasure. And the broken jade and the broken picture are obviously the latter. The golden-faced Lion King calmly put away the cloth and asked what is painted on it. You actually want the leader to personally order the search? Feng Emo shook his head and said, I don't know either, and I don't dare to ask. Since the leader has given an order, those of us who are subordinates must naturally do our best to do it. The Lion King doesn't need to ask so many questions, he just needs to go find him. The golden-faced Lion King put away the cloth and secretly cursed the old fox in his heart. Feng Emoshenyi was still as cautious as usual and did not reveal any flaws. However, judging from the attitudes of Shangguan Wudao and Feng Emo, these broken jade and broken pictures are definitely not simple. There must be a huge secret hidden. Is it a restoration treasure left by the previous dynasty? Or is it a cave left by a strong man? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at West Lake. Chapter 406. Is it a restoration treasure left by the previous dynasty? Or is it a cave left by a strong man? Various speculations emerged in Xiao Wuji's mind. Generally speaking, this kind of residual map will eventually point to a location. And the demon sect belongs to the royal family of the previous dynasty. Maybe this residual map is the treasure left by the Shangguan royal family after the country was destroyed. Use come to restore the country. I don't know how many times I have seen this kind of drama in TV series and novels of Xiao Wuji's previous life. If not, then it is a cave left by a certain peerless strong man. There are not many peerless things hidden in the cave. Magical skills and endless wealth. Ordinary strong people are looked down upon by the demon cult, so if the broken picture points to someone's cave ruins, that person is at least a master of the integration of heaven and man. No matter what, the broken picture and broken pictures, the thing that Jade points to in the end, must be very important to the demon cult and can support the demon cult's restoration. It seems that this bait needs to be thrown out. Xiao Wuji has already noticed in his heart. The broken jade and the broken picture are in Xiao Wuji's hands, and they have been hidden and no one knows. If Xiao Wuji doesn't take them out, no one in the world will be able to find them. The broken jade and the broken picture are both incomplete. Yes, it is useless for Xiao Wuji to keep it in his hands. It is better to take it out and give it to the demon sect to lure out other jade fragments and residual pictures in the hands of the demon section. If the demon sect can find the treasure, it will be too late for Xiao Wuji to stay behind. Not too late. As long as the strength is strong enough, all the actions of the demon cult are just to make wedding clothes for him. Okay, I will look for you. I will notify you as soon as there is news. The golden-faced Lion King looked at Feng Emo and said calmly. Feng Emo raised his glass to the golden-faced Lion King and said with a smile, then leave everything to the Lion King. The Lion King has incredible skills and is well informed. He will definitely not miss anything. Please be quiet. Good news awaiting Lion King. Come, let me toast the Lion King. The golden-faced Lion King raised his glass and drank with Feng Emo. The two raised their heads and drank it all in one gulp. However, at this moment, a sound suddenly sounded from outside the restaurant. How powerful are the golden-faced Lion King and Feng Emo? Naturally, they are the first. It was discovered immediately. Feng Emo sneered and said, it seems that the Lion King is in trouble. How about it? Do you want the Lion King to help me once? The golden-faced Lion King put down his wine glass and said expressionlessly, they are just a group of ants who don't know whether to live or die. There is no need for the wind demon to take action. I can handle it. Under Xiaowaji's perception, the restaurant has been surrounded, and hundreds of martial arts warriors are already entrenched around it. There are martial arts warriors coming in a steady stream from a distance. Obviously, they are all here to take the head of the golden-faced Lion King. Feng Mo smiled and said, the Lion King is still as domineering as ever. My strength is low, so I will take the first step. The Lion King will see you later. After saying that, the window of the upper room opened automatically. The wind demon turned into a wisp of breeze and disappeared into the room in an instant. The wind demon's light skill was so superb that no one among heaven and man could match it. Many martial arts warriors guarding the restaurant were all I only felt a wisp of breeze blowing by, but no one found any trace of the wind demon. At this moment, a roar suddenly sounded. Golden-faced Lion King, you have been surrounded by us, so let's capture you at your wits' end. Evil heretics, everyone can kill them, but now they can be captured without any help, and they can still leave their whole bodies. If you fight stubbornly, there will be no bones left. Around the restaurant, a crowd of heroes gathered, no less than 200 to 300 people. Some of these people had expressionless faces, some had gloomy looks, some were in groups, and some were alone. Some were strutting around with weapons in their hands, and some were murderous. Hiding in the dark, waiting for the opportunity. In short, the heroes are determined to kill, and they all want to take off the head of the golden-faced Lion King today, become famous all over the world, and enjoy the glory and wealth. With a bang, the golden-faced Lion King broke out of the window. He landed on the roof of the inn and restaurant. His eyes were cold and he scanned the crowd, like a lion staring at its prey. The chill was overwhelming. Seeing the golden-faced Lion King appear, all the 200 or 300 heroes around him took a few steps back. Some of them looked frightened. These people talk nicely, saying that they want to kill demons and do justice for heaven, but in fact they are afraid of the strength of the golden-faced Lion King. Only because there are many people, they have the courage to speak, but in fact, they don't know how guilty they are. The golden-faced Lion King, his strength is known all over the world. In a one-on-one duel, whoever goes up will die. The golden-faced Lion King looked around the group of heroes and said coldly, who comes up first to die? The heroes swallowed their saliva, and a great monk holding a sword took courage and said, Golden-faced Lion King, we know that you are very powerful and have unparalleled martial arts. But there are so many of us. If you swarm us, you can't kill us all. After your true energy is exhausted, it will be your death as a demon. You are right. To deal with this kind of evil heretic, there is no need to follow the rules of the world. Everyone swarmed forward to slay the demons. You are a devil who kills like a fool and commits many evil deeds, and everyone will punish you. Today is your day of death. The heroes roared one after another. But the sound was loud. They said nice words, but no one dared to be the first to take action. The golden-faced Lion King looked at the great monk who spoke first, and sneered, I can't possibly kill you. Kill them all? Who do you think you are? Where do you get the confidence to say such stupid things? Still want to use up my true energy? Don't you even look at what you are? A mere group of ants dare to speak shamelessly here, which makes me laugh. Boom. Before he finished speaking, the golden-faced Lion King raised his hand and shot out of the air. The great monk who had spoken before was beaten into a blood mist with his sword and body by the golden-faced Lion King, and no bones were left. Not only the great monk, the 9 warriors around the great monk were also beaten into blood mist. Killing 10 people with one palm, all 10 people were shattered into pieces, with no bones left. The ferocity of the golden-faced Lion King can be seen clearly. It is indeed the devil, kill him. I don't know who roared, and at the same time, Several poisonous thorns flew through the air and shot at the golden-faced Lion King. And this was like a signal. As soon as the signal came out, 200 to 300 people took action at the same time. The swords came out, and there are countless hidden weapons and poisonous smoke, all of which are directed at the golden-faced Lion King. Even though he has a small skill, he still dares to do the same thing. Roar! The golden-faced Lion King had fierce eyes. Facing the killing moves coming from all directions, he opened his mouth and let out a roar. The roar was like thunder, and the sound waves roared like tsunami waves. Sweeping through the layers, nothing can stop it. It is the famous stunt of the golden-faced Lion King, the lion's roar skill. Boom! 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 Wherever the sound wave of the lion's roar goes, the powerful true energy explodes inch by inch, with the golden-faced Lion King as the center, rushing in all directions. All the poisonous smoke from hidden weapons was shattered by sound waves. The bodies of the warriors who rushed forward exploded, blood mist spurted out, and they all bled to death. Some even were directly killed by the roar of the golden-faced Lion King. The gong shattered the body, and no one was dead. Roar! The roar of the lion was endless, like a tsunami, hitting the bodies of the warriors one after another. 200 to 300 people exploded one after another like fireworks. Open! In the blink of an eye, 200 to 300 martial arts warriors were almost dead, and less than 10 people survived. The lion's roar stopped, and the sound waves dissipated. The area around the golden-faced Lion King was in chaos, and the ground had been blown into ruins. The house collapsed. As far as the eye could see, there were broken limbs and blood everywhere. In the distance, 7 or 8 warriors fell on the roof. Their faces were flushed, blood was bleeding from the corners of their mouths, and blood was flowing out of their eyes and ears. The strength of these people, they were stronger and could barely survive under the power of the lion's roar technique. However, their internal organs were still shocked by the lion's roar technique and they suffered great internal injuries. Not only that, they were all deaf and would become deaf for the rest of their lives. Can't hear any sound. Walk. After coming back to their senses, everyone chose to escape. The terror of the golden-masked Lion King was far beyond their imagination. They originally thought they had a chance to fish in troubled waters, but they did not expect that the golden-masked Lion King would not give them any chance at all. What is it about exhausting the golden mask? The Lion King's true energy? It's a joke. All of them came together, and they couldn't even catch a move from the golden Lion King. Seeing a few people fleeing, the golden Lion King certainly wouldn't give them a chance. He raised his hand and pointed out. His fingers turned into phantoms, and he clicked several fingers in an instant. The force of his fingers shot out of the air, carrying a sharp roar that broke through the air, like arrows running through thunder, and instantly penetrated the backs of several people. Poof! Several people escaped. The warrior looked up to the sky and vomited blood at the same time, and then fell from the air like a kite with its string broken. Before he hit the ground, he was dead. No matter how many ignorant ants you kill, you will never be able to satisfy me. The golden-faced Lion King had no expression on his face, his eyes swept in all directions, he raised his feet and left slowly. He knew that it was definitely not just the dead people who were secretly staring at his head. The first wave of people who rushed up were all dead. Idiots with brains, those who hide in the dark are the clever hunters. Let a group of cannon fodder explore the path for them first, and then they will take action when they have an opportunity. However, the golden-masked Lion King did not give them a chance to take action. The powerful golden-faced Lion King and the powerful lion roaring skills are indeed well deserved. If we want to kill him, it's impossible for just the few of us. Still need to think of other ways. Fortunately, there are those cannon fodder exploring the road. If we act rashly, we may be the dead souls at his feet by now. Did he notice us in that last glance just now? It should be, but it's not important. We are not the only ones hiding in the dark. Let's go. You shouldn't stay here for long. If you want to kill the golden-faced Lion King, you need to find another opportunity. It's impossible to kill him head-on, you can only outwit him. The warriors hiding in the dark left one after another. The golden-faced Lion King had already arrived at the city gate. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at Westlake. Chapter 407. The golden-faced Lion King has not hidden any traces along the way, and anyone who is interested can find him. Since he was targeted, the golden-faced Lion King could only kill people to establish his authority. There are indeed many people in the world who are not afraid of death, but it is impossible to gather them together. The best way to avoid being pursued is to kill all the people who are pursuing him. The golden-faced Lion King now uses his body as bait just to catch all those killers. However, the golden-faced Lion King did not encounter the subsequent killers, but instead encountered the Yongcheng defenders. I saw a large army gathering under the gate of Yongcheng, about 3,000 people. The leading general, wearing armor and holding a spear, sat on horseback and pointed his spear at the golden-faced Lion King. Behind him, 3,000 troops are waiting in full formation. As long as the general gives an order, they can all swarm forward and surround and kill the golden-faced Lion King. Golden-faced Lion King, you can't escape, so let's capture him without mercy. The general roared loudly. The golden-faced Lion King is the second most wanted criminal on the blacklist. Not only the warriors but also the court's troops are targeting his head. Troops were sent to encircle and suppress the golden-faced Lion King, and the imperial army became more justified. The golden-faced Lion Wang looked at the 3,000 soldiers and horses in front of him, with a flash of ridicule and sympathy in his eyes. A group of cannon fodder scapegoats who were pushed out did not know until 497 was coming. They simply deserved to die. Kill. The general gave the order and took the lead in riding out. The 3,000 troops behind him also immediately moved out to kill the golden-faced Lion King. The golden-faced Lion King raised his hand, and at some point a lion-headed sword appeared in his hand. The body of the lion-headed sword is golden, the blade is frosty and cold, and the lion's head on the handle is terrifying and majestic. No one knows where the golden-faced Lion King hid the lion-headed sword in advance. This is the art of hidden swordsmanship, also known as hidden sword art. There are countless people who know this martial art, but there are only a few people who can practice it to the level of the golden-faced Lion King. The golden-faced Lion King flies up, holds the knife in both hands and slashes down angrily. The lion's head, the sword made a roaring sound of hundreds of beasts, shaking all directions. The mad lion's battles have changed hands. Boom! A sword fell, and 9 sword chi shot out of the air at the same time. The 9 sword chi formed a fan shape and rushed towards the 3,000 army. Each sword chi was more than 50 meters. The sword chi showed its sharpness and rushed to the front. The general bore the brunt of the attack and was cut into pieces by the sword energy. His men and horses were turned into blood mist, and no bones were left. Wherever the sword energy went, blood mist flew, and the remaining limbs and broken arms flew in all directions, screaming in agony. The 3,000 troops that came up were directly torn apart by the sword energy. All the soldiers, along with the road under their feet, were split and chopped into pieces by the sword energy. Boom! 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 The sword energy went forward and directly tore apart the 3,000 army. Finally, it was chopped hard. On top of the gate of Yongcheng. With a loud bang, the gate of Yongcheng was split open by the sword energy, and the towers collapsed together. It was only then that the sword energy gradually dissipated. The golden-faced Lion King put away his sword and from the sky floated down. In the blink of an eye, the lion-headed sword had disappeared without a trace. When the dust cleared, what appeared in front of the golden-faced Lion King were 9 huge ravines. Those were 9 sword marks, the traces of 9 sword chi passing by. As for the 3,000 troops, they have disappeared. Only the mess, broken limbs, and quagmire of flesh and blood are left on the ground. Hiss. I don't know how many people secretly sucked in a breath of cold air, their faces turned pale, and they were covered in sweat. Cold sweat, trembling with fear. If the golden-faced Lion King used the lion's roar to kill 200 to 300 warriors before, it was enough to frighten them, but now killing 3,000 soldiers with one sword made them frightened. That's 3,000 people. Not 3,000 pigs. Even if you kill 3,000 pigs, you will see the blade curled up and the arms weak. But the golden-faced Lion King only used one sword to destroy the 3,000 strong army. How can he not be feared? One sword can break 3,000 armors, a boring and boring battle. The golden-faced Lion King had no expression on his face and whispered softly. He swayed and disappeared. At this stage, killing these ants would no longer give the golden-faced Lion King any fun and pleasure. If these people hadn't been pushed out as cannon fodder, blocking his way, the golden-faced Lion King may not kill them. The golden-faced Lion King is the second most wanted criminal on the Dazhu blacklist, and the news of his appearance in Yongcheng cannot be concealed. If General Yongcheng does not send troops to arrest him, he was impeached for fear of cowardice, so he had to send troops. These 3,000 troops were the cannon fodder he sent, which he gave to the golden-faced Lion King to kill. In this way, he would be safe and sound. The official position can be preserved. It must be said that following such a despicable and shameless general is a tragedy for the defenders of Yongcheng. After the golden-faced Lion King left Yongcheng, his record of breaking 3,000 armors with one sword quickly spread. Some of the killers in the world who were eyeing the head of the golden-masked Lion King have ceased their activities and do not dare to cause trouble to the golden-masked Lion King again. The effect of killing people to establish prestige is obvious. The golden-masked Lion King successfully dispelled the murderous gangsters with more than 3,000 lives. 90% of the warriors are greedy. Of course, under such high-pressure threats, there are still people who are not afraid of death and want to continue their plans. The most indispensable thing in the world is lunatics who want money rather than their lives. No matter how powerful the golden-faced Lion King is strong, after all, some people can't control the greed in their hearts. However, these people soon became the dead souls of the golden-masked Lion King. The golden-masked Lion King disappeared into the world again, and those who learned the news Emperor Jingtai was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Waste, all waste, everything is waste. If I can't even deal with the golden-faced Lion King, am I raising a bunch of stupid pigs? According to my decree, Su Qingzhou, the general of Yongcheng, was derelict in his duties and was incompetent. He was dismissed from the position of general and sent to the south. In the Deluo Hall of Dazhu Palace, Emperor Jingtai was furious. In the past, there was a demon sect secretly sowing discord and destroying the marriage between Dazhu and Tiankai. Later, the golden-faced Lion King who killed his son came back to the world, pierced 3,000 armors with one sword, and slapped the imperial court of Dazhu in the face. One after another, they are all hitting him in the face of the emperor, making him a wise emperor. The successive blows have aroused the dissatisfaction of the ancestor of the royal family. For the ancestor of the royal family, Emperor Jingtai, it can be said that he is extremely afraid. He knows that although he is the emperor of the great Zhou dynasty, the real decision-makers of the great Zhou dynasty are the ancestors of the royal family, Xia Lushan and Xia Aishi. As long as they say a word, he, the emperor, will step down. Let someone else take over. In the past 10 years, he was ignorant, but overall he did not put Dazhu into crisis. Xia Lushan and Xia Aishi could still tolerate him. But the recent series of blows have begun to shake the foundation of the great Zhou kingdom, and Xia Lushan and Xia Aishi can no longer tolerate it. Since Emperor Jingtai can't be the emperor, then they should replace him with someone else. The Xia family of the Great Zhou dynasty has a large number of people, with more than 50,000 blood descendants, and they can always find someone who can be the emperor. Knowing his situation, Emperor Jingtai also began to walk on thin ice. Recently, he did not even dare to refine elixirs and began to concentrate on state affairs. This made Xia Yongxuan and Yuan Xiong feel a little more relieved as they saw the wise and powerful Emperor Jingtai back then. However, this relief did not last long, as Emperor Jingtai's anger was directed at Jin Yiwei. Because it is the task of Jin Yiwei to capture the golden masked Lion King. This task has been issued for a long time, and Jin Yiwei has never completed it. Jin Yiwei cannot escape the charge of failing to do things well. Xia Yongxuan was scolded by Emperor Jingtai so much that he didn't even dare to raise his head. Yongxuan, tell me, when will you deliver the head of the golden-faced Lion King to me? In the Deluo Hall, Emperor Jingtai looked directly at Xia Yongxuan with cold eyes. Xia Yongxuan sighed and said helplessly, Your Majesty, I forgive you, but I cannot give you a clear answer. The golden-faced Lion King is already the 17th master on the heavenly ranking, with monstrous strength and unparalleled magical skills. Even if Wei Chen takes action in person, he can't guarantee that he can be killed. Xia Yongxuan is ranked 10th on the heavenly ranking, and his strength is naturally extremely powerful. But he can defeat the golden masked Lion King, but he may not be able to kill the golden masked Lion King. The golden masked Lion King wants to escape, but Xia Yongxuan may not be able to catch him. Besides, the whereabouts of the golden-faced Lion King are erratic and hard to find. Jin Yiwei could not find the golden-faced Lion King at all, let alone kill him. If the golden-faced Lion King had not shown up on his own initiative this time, Jin Yiwei would not have been able to find Jin Yiwei at all. Traces of the Mian Lion King. Hearing what Xia Yongxuan said, Emperor Jingtai was filled with anger and wanted to scold Xia Yongxuan again. But after thinking about it, he gave up this plan. He also knew that Xia Yongxuan could not be blamed for this. Jin Mian, a great master like the Lion King, cannot be killed even if he is a country. Otherwise, those wanted criminals on the Great Zhou blacklist would not have been able to live freely for so many years. Alas, try your best to find it. Emperor Jingtai waved his hands, feeling extremely helpless and angry in his heart. Thinking that he, the majestic king of the Zhou dynasty, could not do anything to a fool, how could he not be angry? He would not be able to avenge the murder of his son for a while. Yes, I obey the order. Xia Yongxuan respectfully accepted the order, but suddenly his expression changed drastically. He quickly flew to Emperor Jingtai and threw out a 3-foot wall of energy. Your Majesty, be careful. Boom. The moment the 3-foot air wall unfolded, a loud noise suddenly came from outside Deluo Palace. At the same time, a huge force broke through the door and hit the 3-foot air wall like a tsunami. With a bang, the 3-foot wall of energy shattered, not even able to hold on for half a breath. Xia Yongxuan grabbed Emperor Jingtai and flew away, blocking all the impact from the front. His internal organs seemed to be displaced, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at West Lake. Chapter 408. Wow! The energy shock comes and goes as quickly as it comes. Xia Yongxuan grabbed Emperor Jingtai and rolled over to the ground, spitting out another mouthful of blood. But he didn't care about his injuries. Instead, he looked at Emperor Jingtai behind him and asked nervously, Your Majesty, are you okay? Emperor Jingtai's face turned red, his internal organs seemed to be overturned, and a stream of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His eyes were blank, as if he were stupid. Xia Yongxuan injected a burst of true energy in time to help Emperor Jingtai heal his injuries, and Emperor Jingtai recovered. Cough cough cough. After spitting out a mouthful of bruised blood, Emperor Jingtai felt that a big stone was missing from his heart. He took a long breath and his face suddenly became gloomy, so dark that he could drip water. What happened? Is there an assassin breaking into the palace? Emperor Jingtai Longyan was furious. He almost died just now. Emperor Jingtai was terrified when he thought about the situation where he couldn't control his life just now. If Xia Yongxuan hadn't fought to protect him just now, he, the emperor, might really have died here. Here is where? This is the inner palace, De Luo Hall, which is the core of the palace. There are tens of thousands of elite soldiers guarding the periphery. If he, the emperor, died here, I am afraid that the whole world would laugh out loud. Come on, come on. Are everyone dead? Emperor Jingtai roared and looked outside the hall with a pair of cold eyes. The door of the hall had already been destroyed by the 19 Qijin just now, so he saw the spear stuck on the ground outside De Luo Hall at a glance. Emperor Jingtai raised his head. He walked towards the outside of the palace, but as soon as he took a step, he was stopped by Xia Yongxuan. Your Majesty, be careful, you can move. Emperor Jingtai looked at Xia Yongxuan and asked with concern, how is Iking's injury? Xia Yongxuan shook his head and said, I won't die yet, don't worry, Your Majesty. Actually, Xia Yongxuan was shocked and extremely nervous. He knew his own strength. He was the 10th master on the heavenly ranking and the pinnacle of the Grand Master. He was only one step away from being a half-step heavenly being. There were not many people in the world who could hurt him. But just now, he was actually injured by a sudden huge force. The 3-foot air wall he formed by condensing all his skills was useless in front of that huge force, and it was broken directly before even holding on for half a breath. What level of attack is required to have such great power? A half-step celestial being? Or a true celestial being? Just thinking about it makes Xia Yongxuan extremely frightened. You must know that this is the palace, and such a powerful assassin has appeared. How to prevent him from being cautious? Your Majesty, it is better to wait for the soldiers outside to check the situation before going out. The assassin may not have left yet. Xia Yongxuan stood nervously in front of Emperor Jingtai, protecting him behind him. Although the assassin did not launch a second wave of offensive and there was no trace of him, Xia Yongxuan did not dare to relax his vigilance at all. Bang! 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 Urgently footsteps sounded, indicating that the Forbidden Army had arrived. The Forbidden Army surrounded the De Luo Palace and began to search every inch. After a long time, a member of the Forbidden Army came to report, Your Majesty, no trace of the assassin was found outside the palace. A long spear. Emperor Jingtai and Xia Yongxuan frowned, and they walked out of the De Luo Hall one after another. They saw a spear stuck in the courtyard outside the hall, and there were cracks on the ground, forming a spider web. The spear was very ordinary. Is the spear used by ordinary soldiers? But the appearance of the spear here is very unusual. Emperor Jingtai said coldly, go up and take a look. Obey. A member of the Imperial Army stepped forward cautiously, turned around and said, Your Majesty, I found a letter on the gun. Emperor Jingtai said quickly, send it up. Yes. The soldiers immediately went up and took down the letter. The moment the letter was taken down, the spear immediately turned into dust and flew away in the wind. Emperor Jingtai looked solemn, and so did Xia Yongxuan. Could it be that the impact of energy just now was caused by the spear hitting the ground? Could it be that this person entered the palace just to deliver a message? If this is the case, then the strength of the person who threw the spear is 10 times and 100 times more terrifying than Xia Yongxuan thought. A spear was thrown from nowhere and shot into the palace. The spear did not come towards him, it just emitted radiation when it landed. The residual power of the spear was actually able to injure him. If the spear was aimed at him, wouldn't he be dead? What kind of strength does it take to do such a thing? It is absolutely impossible for a half-step celestial being. Only a true master of the unity of man and nature can do this. Emperor Jingtai opened the letter and saw that it read, I have heard for a long time that Xia family Lucian has unparalleled magical skills. I admire his grace and style, which is a real comfort to my life. Originally, we were talking at night by candlelight, but we didn't expect that the blue eyes would be hard to bend. The superior taught you and the subordinate led the underworld, but I regretted it. The ancients said that my head is as white as new, my head is as old as ever, my heart is long, and I miss you deeply. Return to worship after 3 days and pray not to reject others thousands of miles away. The only one in the world, invincible on earth, respected in martial arts, and infinite in all abilities. Bihai Madman Wu Wudi pays homage. This is a letter of challenge to the ancestor. So brave and arrogant, I simply didn't take the imperial court of Zhou seriously. Emperor Jingtai was so angry that he was shaking all over after reading the letter of challenge. The meaning of the letter was very simple and clear. There was a man who claimed to be Wu Wudi who wanted to challenge Xia Lucian, the ancestor of the Xia family. What was Xia Lucian's identity? The previous emperor of Zhou dynasty, Tian, a master of human integration, his status is extremely noble, and he can be called the pillar of the great Zhou dynasty. Even he, the emperor, cannot meet such a person just because he wants to. But now, someone actually sent a letter of war to Xia Lucian, and he threw a spear. The letter of challenge sent to the palace was simply full of provocations and did not take the majesty of the Xia family of Great Zhou into consideration at all. The only one in the world, invincible on earth, respected in martial arts, and infinite in all abilities. The North Sea madman is invincible. What a madman from Bihai, what a Wu Wudi, he is really crazy. Emperor Jingtai was so angry that he was shaking all over, but he had to admit that facing this letter of challenge, he felt a sense of powerlessness. Regardless of whether this person named Wu Wudi is arrogant or not, his strength is obviously genuine. Renwei he showed up and only threw a spear, severely injuring his strongest guard Xia Yongxuan. This kind of strength was obviously not something he, the emperor, could handle. Xia Yongxuan also saw the contents of the war letter from the side, and the anger in his heart instantly all dissipated. After all, the person who hurt him was a master of the unity of heaven and man. Even if he wanted to take revenge, he did not have the courage or strength. He was injured and could only blame him for being unlucky. The war between heaven and man was not a great master like him. The best shrimps can be blended. Yongxuan, you can take care of the funeral affairs. I am going to Tongtian Pavilion to meet my ancestor. After Emperor Jingtai finished speaking, he hurried to Tongtian Pavilion with a letter of war. Tongtian Pavilion is located in the 9-5 dragon veins of Jinling City's overall layout. It is extremely noble. Emperor Jingtai passed through many checkpoints and arrived outside Tongtian Pavilion. He sorted himself out with an elegant appearance, he bowed respectfully to Shimin and said, my descendant, son Xia Yuankai, would like to see my ancestor. What's the matter? Xia Lucian's voice came from Tongtian Pavilion, and it was extremely majestic. When talking to Xia Lucian, even though Xia Yuankai was the emperor, he felt extremely stressed. It was the imposing pressure exerted by the superior on the inferior. After all, Xia Lucian Tian was also an emperor, and his martial arts did not fall behind. He successfully broke through and reached the realm of unity between man and nature. Compared with Xia Lucian, Emperor Jingtai Xia Yuankai was obviously far behind. Emperor Jingtai did not raise his head. He said respectfully, someone has sent me a letter of challenge. I will make an appointment with my ancestor in 3 days. Oh. Xia Lucian's voice was full of surprise, and he said calmly, come in. After the words fell, the stone door of Tongtian Pavilion opened automatically. Emperor Jingtai stepped into Tongtian Pavilion and saw rows of bookshelves on the circular wall with countless books on them. These were collected by the Xia royal family martial arts secrets from here. From the first level martial arts on the Bad Street, to the 9th level martial arts and spiritual martial arts, They are all available here. Tongtian Pavilion is the retreat place for Xia Lucian and Xia Aishi. The two retreat in order to break through the martial arts. High Realm. It is their normal routine to read the martial arts secret books of various sects. The third realm of the unity of man and nature, the Wuxia realm, means that all methods are infinite. If you want to break through this realm, you need to have a knowledge of martial arts that is beyond ordinary people. Understanding, reaching the realm of doing whatever you want and knowing all laws. What Xia Lucian is pursuing now is this realm. So he wants to gather the best of hundreds of schools of thought and find his own Wuxia road. But on this road, after walking for decades, there is still no breakthrough. In the center of Tongtian Pavilion, there is a stone platform, which is several floors high. Xia Lucian usually sits on the stone platform to practice. If he wants to read any secrets, he can just wave his hand. Find it from the bookshelf on the wall next to it. Come up. Xia Lucian's voice sounded, and Emperor Jingtai found that his body left the ground uncontrollably and flew towards the top of the stone platform. Soon, Emperor Jingtai came to the stone platform and saw Xia Lucian, the ancestor of the Xia family. Xia Lucian is wearing a purple robe and a golden crown. He is unparalleled in majesty and domineering. The majesty of the emperor on his body is countless times greater than that of his emperor. Later generation grandson Xia Yuankai pays homage to his ancestor. Emperor Jingtai did not dare to neglect and quickly knelt down 3 times and kowtowed 9 times to salute. Get up. Xia Lucian opened his eyes, looked at Emperor Jingtai, and said calmly, where is the letter of war? It's here. Emperor Jingtai quickly took out the gauntlet. Xia Lucian waved his hand, and the gauntlet fell into his hands. The content was the same, but when Xia Lucian read it, it was completely different from that of Emperor Jingtai. Every word in the gauntlet was completely different from that of Emperor Jingtai. Each word is full of endless fighting spirit. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at Westlake. Chapter 409. The only one in the world, invincible on earth, respected in martial arts, and infinite in all abilities. The North Sea madman is invincible. Who is this person? I have never heard that there is a heavenly being named Wu Wuti in the world. He's quite bold and arrogant. How dare he be named Wu Wuti? I don't know whether this person is arrogant or ignorant or stupid. Xia Lucian whispered softly, his voice was calm, and there was no hint of happiness or anger. Emperor Jingtai did not dare to interrupt at will. He stood aside with his head lowered and kept silent. He knew that the war between the two heavenly beings, it was not for him, the emperor, to interfere. After a long time, Xia Lucian put away the letter of challenge, looked at Emperor Jingtai and said, you don't need to worry about this matter. Just send people to guard Jinling in the next few days. Emperor Jingtai said respectfully, yes, Yuan Qi obeys your order. Well, go for it. Xia Lucian nodded slightly, then waved his hand and sent Emperor Jingtai off the stone platform. After Emperor Jingtai left Tongtian Pavilion, Xia Lucian looked up at the ceiling above his head and said, Father, what do you think about Wu Wuti, what do you think? It can be seen that the letter of challenge in Xia Lucian's hand has disappeared. At some point, the letter of challenge has been held by Xia Aishi, who is higher up. Xia Aishi said someone is challenging him, no matter what his purpose is. No matter what the conspiracy, you can't be afraid of it, because you are not you, the royal family of the great Zhou Xia family you represent. Xia Lucian nodded and said, I understand that I can only win this battle, not lose. What Urchin is worried about is whether this matter may be a conspiracy of the Shangguan family. This Bihai madman Wu Wuti should not be from the Shangguan clan. But to provoke the majesty of our Xia family, This case must not be started. Luo Tian, it will be up to you in 3 days. If we can kill him in full public view, the majesty of our Xia family will reach its peak. There is no better way to stabilize people's hearts than to use the head of a master who unites nature and man to declare the power of the Xia family. Apocalypse Yuan Wu Emperor Xiao Zhantian is a lesson learned from the past. Xiao Zhantian has no worries and no worries in Daliang. The foundation. Just because he killed 2 masters of the unity of heaven and man in one battle, and his majesty and prestige reached their peak instantly, he was able to conquer the entire beam without any effort and establish the Apocalypse dynasty. Although the martial arts sects in Apocalypse are not as good as those of the Great Zhou dynasty, there are a lot of them. Warriors are arrogant by nature, and the masters of the unity of nature and man are even more unscrupulous and arrogant. But they said nothing about Xiao Zhantian's enthronement and proclaimed himself emperor, just because Xiao Zhantian has invincible strength against Tiankai. In recent years, the Xia royal family has, although there is a strong man who unites heaven and man, but because heaven and man do not come out, the warriors of the Great Zhou dynasty only heard his name but never saw him. They don't know how strong the Xia family's heavenly man is, so the deterrence is not enough. If you can take this opportunity, killing Wu Wudi in front of the people of the world can declare to the Great Zhou and even the whole world that the strength of the unity of heaven and man in the Great Zhou is not weak. As long as Xia Luxian wins, the warriors in the Great Zhou will never dare to do what they did before, unscrupulous. The major lords and families will not dare to have different intentions. The demonic cult, which is bent on subverting the country, will be more cautious and will no longer dare to challenge the majesty of the Great Zhou in a short time. The morale of the army within the Great Zhou will reach its peak. Free individuals in the Jianghu community will also be closer to the imperial court. In short, as long as Xia Luxian can kill Wu Wudi, there are countless benefits. I leave it to you, Luo Tian. Xia Aoshi's voice echoed in Tongtian Pavilion, and it never calmed down for a long time. I will obey my orders and will never let my father down. Xia Luxian responded, with a gloomy face and murderous intent in his eyes. Wu Wudi, since you are trying to challenge my majesty of the Great Zhou dynasty, don't blame my subordinates for being ruthless and taking your life. If you want to step on me and ascend to the throne of the Zhou Xia royal family, it depends on how much you weigh. You don't deserve the name Wu Wudi. The sound disappeared, and Tongtian Pavilion returned to calm. Xia Luxian closed his eyes and rested, and the true energy in the meridians in his body circulated endlessly. He wanted to adjust his state to the peak to welcome the war between heaven and man 3 days later. This battle, he has victory and no defeat. In the blink of an eye, 3 days have passed. On this day, the 9 gates of Jinling city were sealed. The main street leading directly from the east gate to the palace was cleared, and no idlers were allowed to approach. Both sides of the street were filled with imperial guards. The soldiers were like an emperor on parade. Not only that, the masters from Jinyue, Liamen, and Dongchang were also dispatched and distributed throughout Jinling city. What happened? Why is the imperial court so threatened? Could it be that the demon cult is coming to attack? Impossible. How dare people from the demon sect be so bold? In broad daylight, with everything clear, no matter how courageous the demon sect is, they would not dare to blatantly commit suicide. So why is the court so nervous? I heard that not only are Jin Yiwei, but also all the experts from Liamen and Dongchang were dispatched. Even when facing the demon cult, the court has never been so nervous. What exactly is our mission? Who is the enemy? I don't know. There is an order from above, asking us to guard Jinling city, and we are not allowed to inquire about the rest. We just have to do what we're told. The Jin Yiwei were whispering to each other and talking about each other, and everyone was confused. They received orders to guard Jinling and resist foreign enemies. But who is the enemy? Where does it come from? From where? When will you arrive? But nothing. Some old Jinyai have been handling cases for decades and have never taken on such an outrageous task. In fact, it is not the fault of these Jinyi guards, even the third Taibao Yuanxiang is confused at this moment. Only Emperor Jingtai and Commander Xia Yongxuan were the only ones who truly knew that Wu Wudi would come to challenge the ancestor of the royal family. At a certain moment, Jinling City suddenly became quiet. The air was dead silent and you could hear a needle drop. For some reason, all the people who were talking to each other shut their mouths in unison. Someone wanted to speak, but in this atmosphere, he did not dare to speak. Cold sweat trickled down, and everyone swallowed their saliva wildly. Suddenly, there was a sound of horseshoes neighing from outside the sky, and everyone looked towards the direction of the sound. The next second, countless people in Jinling City all opened their eyes with fear and dumbfounded expressions, as if they had seen a ghost. I saw a small black spot in the sky in the distance, growing in size at a speed visible to the naked eye from far to near. When the black dot revealed its true appearance, it turned out to be 9 horses pulling a carriage running wildly. With a 9-horse carriage, it is natural that it should be fast. But it was on the ground. But now, these 9 horses are galloping high in the sky. There was nothing in the sky, but the 9 horses seemed to have their feet on the ground, and the sound of hoofbeats was made when the horses' hooves fell. The 9-horse chariot traveled across the sky, crossed the Jinling city wall, and quickly approached the palace. Am I dazzled? Still dreaming? I must be dreaming, haha, I am so stupid, how could the carriage fly in the sky? Not only are you stupid, I'm stupid too. It must be because I didn't wake up last night. At this moment, I don't know how many people suspected that there was something wrong with their eyes, and I don't know how many people suspected that they were living in a dream. A 9-horse carriage flies through the sky. This is a scene that only appears in fairy tales, but now it has truly appeared in front of people all over the world. Millions of people in Jinling City all saw the scene with their own eyes. It's the gods who have come down to earth. God bless you, God bless you. There are ignorant people who kneel down and kowtow, their faces full of awe. In their view, people who can fly in the sky must be gods. Kneeling down and kowtowing to pray for blessings is an instinctive reaction. Even some weak warriors thought they saw gods. Only some martial arts experts know that the person flying in the sky at this moment is a supreme master. Who is the person in the carriage? Third Taibao Yuanxiang looked at the carriage speeding past his head with an extremely solemn expression. At this moment, he finally understood why the emperor ordered the whole city to impose martial law. It turned out that there was a supreme power coming to Jinling City. Faced with this a strong man, no matter how much preparation he makes, and no matter how many people he sends to defend, it is not too much. It's just that the heavily guarded Jinling City is of no use to this strong man. No matter how many they have, they can only stand on the ground. Up, the attack could not reach the sky. The 9-horse carriage flew through the air, flying too high. Even if Yuan Xiong tried his best, he could not touch the carriage, and could only watch the carriage run over his head. In the palace, Emperor Jingtai and Xia Yongxuan also saw the carriage flying rapidly, with extremely gloomy expressions. He planned everything and sent an army to guard the 9 gates, just to give Wu Wudi a show of strength. But he did not expect that Wu Wudi flew from the sky. His army has no effect at all. Yongxuan, what level do you need to be able to do such a thing? Emperor Jingtai looked at the 9-horse chariot in the sky, feeling extremely jealous and fearful. Facing such a strong man, he, the emperor, was too insignificant, no different from an ant. Xia Yongxuan shook his head and said, Your Majesty, forgive me. Have no idea. Although he is a powerful master at the pinnacle of the Grand Master, he does not know much about the realm of unity between man and nature. It is really hard to imagine what kind of power it is to be able to do such a thing. A 9-horse chariot traveling across the sky is no longer as fast as flying with a sword. Do you know how many times better you are? the only one in the world, invincible on earth, respected in martial arts, and infinite in all abilities. I, the madman of the North Sea, Wu Wudi, have come for battle. Please show me Luo Tian of the Xia clan. Martial arts, become invincible starting from the full-level magic system. Author, Drunk in March at Westlake. Chapter 410. The only one in the world, invincible on earth, respected in martial arts, and infinite in all abilities. I, the madman of the North Sea, Wu Wudi, have come for battle. Please show me Luo Tian of the Xia clan. A majestic and domineering voice came from the carriage, like a thunderous explosion, shaking all directions and lingering for a long time. All the millions of people in Jinling City heard this voice and also knew the identity of the strong man in the carriage. Behind madman Wu Wudi, as soon as he was born, he was already powerful in the world. All the warriors in Jinling City looked at the carriage in the sky with feverish eyes, and then looked in the direction of the palace. Wu Wudi's intention was already very clear, to challenge Xia Lushan, the ancestor of the royal family. Who? I never imagined that a war between heaven and man would break out so suddenly. Will the ancestors of the royal family and heavenly beings go to war? Of course. Definitely will. Will. Someone is knocking on the door. How can the ancestor of the royal family avoid fighting? If this is true, the face will be lost to grandma's family. How can the Xia royal family have the face to rule the world? Boom. As if to confirm everyone's words, a giant light pillar suddenly shot out from Tongtian Pavilion inside the palace. The light pillar soared into the sky, penetrated the clouds in the sky, stirred the wind and clouds, and formed a huge vortex. The light pillar turned from white to red, as if a giant pillar of fire. Extremely scorching heat emanated and swept across all directions. Then a pressure from heaven and man erupted, covering almost half of Jinling City. Under this pressure, all the warriors held their breath, and their hearts seemed to be suppressed. A big mountain. Boom. The pillar of fire slowly dissipated, and a figure appeared in the sky. Wearing a 9-dragon robe and a purple gold crown, exuding strong imperial majesty, it was none other than Xia Lushan, the ancestor of the royal family. I'm here, Wu Wudi 153 still hasn't shown up. Xia. Lushan looked directly at the carriage, looking neither happy nor angry, and spoke calmly. Along with the sound of horses neighing, the carriage exploded with a bang, and the 9 bloody horses exploded into blood mist. A domineering and peerless figure came out of the sky. Here. The person's eyes are as calm as water, sinking as deep as the invincible abyss. The fighting spirit surges from his body, and he is astonishingly domineering. Wisps of the power of heaven and earth surround him, condensing entities, forming various weapon forms of swords, guns, swords, and halberds. The North Sea madman is invincible and finally appears in the world. The terrifying pressure from heaven and man suddenly erupted, forcing countless people in Jinling City to kneel on the ground. Are you Wu Wudi? You dare to declare a challenge to me, you are very brave. Xia. Lushan waved his sleeves, forcing Wu Wudi's momentum back. Wu Wudi looked at Xia Lushan and said in a roaring voice, the only one in the world, the invincible on earth, the martial arts is revered, and all methods are infinite. I fight against heaven and earth and against all sentient beings. You are just the first opponent I choose. It is your lifetime glory to be lucky enough to be chosen by me. Presumptuous. Xia Lushan waved his sleeves, raised his hand and slapped Wu Wudi. Heiran's palm force shot out of the air, and directly took Wu Wudi's head on his neck. Wu Wudi did not dodge or avoid, raised his hand and pointed out, defeating the palm force. Such a little test was just a joke. At the same time, Xia Wuji also confirmed his suspicion. Sure enough, Xia Lushan couldn't see through that he was just an incarnation of a heavenly being. According to common sense, a strong heavenly being can see through the heavens at a glance. The difference between the human form and the incarnation of heaven. But Xiao Wuji's incarnation of heaven is different from that of ordinary people. His original form, CDBG, has entered the fourth realm of heaven. His incarnation of heaven is extremely solid, and the power of his soul is extremely powerful. The coercion of heaven and man is even more vast, and the comprehensive strength is comparable to the peak of Lingyuan realm, the second realm of heaven and man. Under this situation, even Xiao Lushan cannot see through that Xiao Wuji is just an incarnation of heaven and man at this moment. The four realms of heaven and man, one step at a time. The difference in strength between the first two realms is not too big, but in the third realm, the gap in strength is huge. The fourth realm is half a step into the void, and I don't know how many times it is better than the Lingyuan realm. Xiao Wuji is incarnated at this moment. Wu Wudi stepped on the void and stood suspended in the air. In Xiao Lushan's eyes, it was like a big sun in the sky, extremely dazzling. State your purpose. Xiao Lushan suppressed the fear in his heart and looked directly at Wu Wudi with cold eyes. Wu Wudi crossed his arms and regarded the world as nothing and everyone as ants. I want you to have half of the national fortune in the Great Zhou dynasty, and the world of the Great Zhou dynasty. Got it? Xia. Lushan's pupils tightened and he was furious. You are so brave to ask me to win the national fortune for half of the first week of the year. Now that you have said this, you cannot escape death today. Emperor Jingtai, who was in the Deluo Hall of the Imperial Palace, was also furious. He wanted half of the country's fate in the Great Zhou dynasty, and wanted the world of the Great Zhou dynasty. Wu Wudi wanted to be the supreme king of the martial arts world. He was the master of the court, and Wu Wudi was the master of the world. This is not the case. Provoking the Xia royal family of the Great Zhou dynasty is trampling on the centuries-old dignity of the Xia royal family. Wu Wudi, you don't deserve this name. You can't take away my national destiny from the Great Zhou dynasty, but you still have to leave your life behind. Die. The Nishinja sky fire is extinguished. Xiao Lushan took action boldly, raised his hand and struck out with the palm. The mighty true energy surged wildly, carrying the power of heaven and earth, and instantly turned into a sea of flames, roaring towards Wu Wudi. The sea of fire roared, covering the sky and the sun, and in an instant hanging high in the sky, covering up the bright sun in the sky. The scorching heat broke out and swept through Jinling city. Millions of people were sweating profusely, and even the weakest people fell into coma and lost consciousness. Wu Wudi looked up to the sky and roared, raised his hand and turned his palm into a claw, from up and down to grab. A huge claw shot out of the sky, faintly emitting the sound of gold and iron. This move was clearly the thousands of swirling claws of the top 10 martial arts oracle bone dragon claws. The shadow of the claws broke through the air, and the power of heaven and earth gathered. It turned into a whirlpool, and the shadows of heavy claws shot out of the air, instantly tearing the monstrous sea of fire into pieces. Don't use such trivial skills to do whatever you want. When I was 7 years old, I no longer took him seriously. Wu Wudi's clouds were calm and his eyes were cold. He looked at Xiao Lushan as if he were looking at a dying ant. Xiao Lushan, the emperor, had never been looked at by such eyes. That kind of contempt, it was a huge blow to his self-esteem. Xiao Lushan was already furious, and now he was even more angry. The real energy around his body surged, turning into raging flames and wrapping around him, like a flaming god. He leaned over and glanced at Jinling City, looked at Wu Wudi and yelled, "You can't use it here, you and I will go to the decisive battle outside the city." Before he finished speaking, regardless of whether Wu Wudi agreed or not, Xiao Lushan turned into a flaming meteor and rushed out of the city. Wu Wudi naturally followed him. In full view of everyone, if he didn't dare to chase, wouldn't he tell the world, is he afraid of Xiao Lushan? Roar! Wu Wudi instantly turned into a giant dragon and burst out of the sky, flying towards the outside of Jinling city. 2 meteors flashed past, and countless people saw it before they could react. The sky was empty, Wu Wudi and Xiaoluxian disappeared. Hurry, go outside the city. The battle between heaven and man has been rare for decades. We didn't have the chance to watch the battle that took place in Tiankai. We must not miss it this time. Don't you want your life? How dangerous is the war between heaven and man? Even if we are a little bit affected by the aftermath, we will be shattered into pieces, and there will be no bones left. Going to watch the battle at this moment is no different from risking death. Even if it's extremely dangerous, I still have to go to the afternoon rush hour. In the battle between heaven and man, all kinds of martial arts wills emerge in endlessly, and the secrets of martial arts are endless. If you can spy on the unexpected, your realm will surely advance by leaps and bounds. Brother Wu is right, the battle between heaven and man has been rare for decades. This God-given opportunity must not be missed. To go further, a little risk is worth it. Even if I die, I am willing to do so. Whoosh! 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 One by one, the warriors performed light kung fu and movement techniques, following the footsteps of Wu Wudi and Xiaoluxian in the deserted countryside outside the city. Although they knew that this trip was extremely dangerous and there was a high possibility of death without a whole body, countless warriors still there is no turning back. As they said, being lucky enough to witness such a peak battle is worth dying for. Whoosh! Roar! Xiaoluxian and Wu Wudi came to the outskirts of Jinling City one after another, where there was forest for miles around. And wilderness, deserted. Dragon Claw locks the sun. Wu Wudi arrived first and took the lead. The 100-meter giant dragon rose into the air, reached out with a grab, and went straight for Xiaoluxian. This move was clearly the Oracle Bone Dragon Claw's Dragon Claw locking the sun. The monstrous dragon claws were in harmony, as if want to pluck off a great sun and crush it into ashes, let alone a mere Xiaoluxian. Xiaoluxian was not to be outdone, and channeled the true energy in his body, and the flames all over his body rose. The flames turned into strange beasts, rushed to the sky dragon claw. All beasts are galloping against the gods. Boom! The extreme moves collided, and a terrifying sea of true energy burst out and rushed in all directions. Wherever it went, the sea of fire spread, and the true energy was like a blade cutting off the big trees in the sky. The dense forest was swept away, and a person appeared. A huge circular pit. The dragon's claws closed together, crushing each of the flaming beasts, and its own power was finally eliminated. Ha 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 ha, you are not weak. But if you only have this ability, then today will be the day you fall. This jungle is your burial place. Wu Wudi waved his sleeves to defeat the oncoming aftermath, looked at Xiaoluxian and laughed. After a battle, Xiao Wuji determined that Xiaoluxian's strength was somewhat stronger than that of Bodhi Temple's Gangxiang, and roughly the same as that of the demon section Suanzun Shangguan Ao is almost the same. If Xiao Wuji were here, it would only take one move to kill Xiaoluxian. But now that he is here incarnate, it will take a lot of effort to kill Xiaoluxian. But he just took this opportunity to let he tried the power of the Suanwu true technique. Xiaoluxian was knocked hundreds of meters away by Wu Wudi. He exerted all his strength, stepped on the void, stabilized his body, and said with a gloomy face, "Crazy people should not be so presumptuous. I am just testing it with you, Fan. Why do you have the confidence to be so arrogant?"